Hey, this is Grant Estrand from Local Cooling Farms. I'm here today with Representative Kim Coates, and we're here to talk about her new bill, HB 150, talking about cottage food law and making food at the home kitchen.
Yes, thank you, Grant. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm very excited to move this bill forward and try to support our home producers, our farmers markets, our farmers in general, of how to expand their business.
Yeah. So when we talk about the cottage food bill or cottage food laws, can you tell everybody what that encompasses? When we say that, what do we mean by that?
So it's basically someone that is cooking from their home kitchen. So they can do pastries, jams, jellies. Honey is actually included, which it can be unpasteurized honey. And then we will kind of expand that with this bill to where people can produce foods and things from their home, which they're still limited on the size of their kitchen and the amount that they can produce, but it opens it up for people that wants to make an extra income or start a small business to work in to grow.
Got it. And those are regulations that we can do now. So somebody could, do the honey, or they could do pickles, or those sort of things. With HB 150, what are some of the new things that you're bringing to the table with the bill?
Well, it's to really define it more clearly. Currently, the cottage food bill has a lot of exceptions. You can do this, you can't do that. You can do this, you can't do that. So we're defining potentially hazardous foods or non-potentially hazardous foods, which basically it breaks down what is shelf stable and then what it needs to be temperature controlled. And so we're just defining it better to where people understand that if it needs to be temperature control, these are the rules that you have to follow. If it's shelf stable, you can still do everything that you do now. You can sell it at farmers markets. You can sell it through the internet, and ship. But potentially hazardous foods you can't, is direct to consumer.
Gotcha. And when you say potentially hazardous foods, what does that mean?
So it's basically anything that has to be temperature controlled. So if you bake in casseroles or something and it has like ground meat and stuff in it, that has to be temperature controlled.
Got it. And this isn't really designed to for somebody to set up a restaurant at their house or anything like this. In my mind, it's really gives somebody an opportunity to start something up small, because they may not have the ability to go rent a space at first, right?
Correct.
So what kind of folks would that help out the most? You kind of talked about the stay-at-home moms, or the direct-to-consumer farmers out there. Are you finding that there are people who are willing and able to do these activities if they were just able to do them?
Yes. So part of the law also currently, it's limited to a gross of $30,000 a year. So let's think of a lady that's retired, or a stay-at-home mom that likes to do cakes and stuff. So she does wedding cakes. So maybe she's only doing one a week or something, but she sells them for $3,000 a piece. Well, she would only be able to do 9 cakes because she has to be below the $30,000 gross. And then the rest of the year she wouldn't be able to work. And I don't think that's fair. If someone has a talent and they do everything really nice and people want to buy it, everyone has the choice to buy from someone that produces from their home, that they should have that ability.
Right. And in that example with your bill, you're getting rid of that gross revenue cap.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. There's many other states that also do this, that has this bill. Some do have a limit, some do not. But I just want people to be able to grow. Currently, in right outside my district in the city of Hammond, there was a lady that started a bakery in her home. She got really big on social media. Well, she got so big that she went open a shop, and she kept growing that she actually opened up a second shop. So, and now she has, multiple employees, and that's kind of what we want. We want people to be able to grow. You start within that home kitchen and then grow, and then you can hire more people and stuff. So that's kind of what we want for Louisiana. We want to keep people here loving and doing what they have a passion for, and to continue to grow and employ other people. It's not all about big businesses. I think we need to also look at the small businesses as well.
Yeah, there's an expression out there that goes something to the effect of, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. So this is giving the folks an opportunity to do this food manufacturing in their home kitchen that they already have at their disposal.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
And how does it, coming from the agricultural farm, arena, how do you think that this is going to affect your typical person your vendor at the farmer's market? Like, how is that going to help out that group of people?
Well, for one, it can open it up for them to gross more per year, but it gives them a more defined definitions within the bill. We had someone over the Christmas holidays at the farmer's market she sells bone broth. She does her own bone broth, but people were like, hey, you need to make hot chocolate bone broth. And she's like, I don't know if I can sell that. So it's like we're just trying to, put better definitions to where, okay, if it's temperature controlled or not, this is the rules that you have to follow. So that way those producers at the farmers markets and stuff have more clear definitions.
Yeah, and with one of the things that we produce is pork on our farm. It's all USDA inspected pork, and for a little while we had a chef in a inspected certified kitchen doing broth and rendered lard and head cheese, and we sold a lot of it, and everybody was very happy. It was all very safe, packaged well, but he ended up moving his business out of state. And we weren't able to find anybody, to do those things. So since then, we haven't been able to sell, lard, head cheese, and broth. And that's part of like nose to tail eating. Those are all those pieces and parts of the pig that we would love to sell as a direct to consumer farmer. Because not only are we not wasting, the pork, but we're making more money on what we're doing, because we're able to turn that into a value add product. This bill would allow the farmers to be able to do that kind of stuff at their home kitchen if they wanted to.
And as it's a struggle for farmers to keep up and to compete with some of the mass production. And that's another thing that I want to kind of get back is to be able to help those farmers to be able to have those resources. So I'm very happy to say that would be a positive for you and others, in that agriculture world as well.
Yeah, and how do you think that's going to help with, we talk about economic development and stuff, and what about like rural development? Is this, we talked about the example of not being able to afford the acreage to have a farm on anymore. Do you think that this could actually create more gross revenue for somebody who wanted to do a farming operation?
Yes, absolutely. So I feel like there's a trend that, farming's changing, and more people are wanting to homestead, and more people are wanting to start small regenerative type farming operations. And this would also open up those doors for those rural areas to where they can sell to their neighbors and their community, even if they don't have big farmers markets. So I think that's where, within Louisiana, we need to give people those opportunities and make sure we're keeping it home and not having to import everything. So, I'm very supportive of the agriculture movement and stuff we have and giving those opportunities back.
Right, and there's a lot of talk right now about bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. I mean, this is it right here. I mean, it's just we need to give the folks the bandwidth or the opportunity, or take off the restrictions in place to be able to open up that type of manufacturing.
I've spoken to some farmers, and even they've expressed that their kids and grandkids, they have a passion because they grew up on a farm, but they can't sustain it. They can't just go in and take over a 300-acre farm. So what opportunities can we give them to do other things? Like you said, you're butchering a pig, and you have all of this that people want those other choices, healthy choices, and give those farmers that opportunity to use it. But those children, they want to work on farms, and it's very hard for them. So let's take the raw milk from last year. I saw so many dairies going out of business, and we have young generations. I just went to the dairy day just recently with the 4-H kids, and it's like they can start smaller. She's like, well, I only have 20 goats instead of 300. Mm-hmm. But now she can do that, and she can grow and start small, but she's still doing what she loves, and that's so important.
Right, and with the raw milk bill, I know a lot of people were concerned about safety and all the things around that. I know that folks are going to be concerned about safety with this bill. For folks who would be concerned about foodborne illnesses and safety in the home kitchen, what would you say to the folks who are concerned about that?
Well, they have to know, and I would say kind of ask a lot of questions to that home producer, be very open with them, and questions. But there's been a study by the Institute of Justice, I believe was the firm, that looked across the board in the United States, and there hasn't been any foodborne illnesses. And what's also is kind of scary is that we can go to a grocery store right now and buy something off the shelf and get a foodborne illness. There are recalls every week. So I think it's up to the consumer to really ask the questions, be mindful of who you're buying from, and pay attention to how it's packaged, how it's wrapped, and just ask a lot of questions as well.
And that's where the transparency comes in, right? Because this isn't designed, for the farmer to make broth and then sell it to Cisco to be distributed. I mean, they're selling it directly to the person who's going to be consuming it. So everybody knows where everybody lives. They know where things were raised. And so there's enough transparency where people can vet that person selling that product pretty well.
Yes, and then it gets around the community too. Like, she's got some great sourdough bread, and so people start learning of what others in the community are selling, and what they can go to the farmers market to buy.
Yeah, and I think that when people think about foodborne illnesses and safety, I mean, people's home kitchens are pretty clean, and there's so much knowledge about food safety now. I mean, you can go online and take a food safety course for free or very inexpensively right now. I know in my home kitchen, we have 3 or 4 different meat thermometers or different temperature thermometers so that we can tell so we know exactly what we're doing in the kitchen. And I think that's enough common knowledge to where people understand E. coli and salmonella now, and so there's just so much awareness of it.
Yes. So do you see any other future benefits from your side of it with farming?
Yeah, with direct-to-consumer farming, the farming isn't so much the challenge. It's all the infrastructure around direct-to-consumer sales. For example, we have to throttle the amount of animals that we process because there's so limited freezer space. So there's limited with freezer space. There's a huge limitation with folks that we can, like I said, take a pork head to, or take the lard to render into a value product. So there's a limitation with certified kitchen space and even shared kitchen space. Like there are some programs to where I can go ahead and book the kitchen for maybe about a day, but that kitchen's so far away, and because of the price point and this the time and logistics, it really isn't even accessible. And so for us to be able to, as a farmer, to create some of these value-added products, the cost of setting up our own commercial kitchen is just a non-starter for us. It's just, there's not enough, we don't have the capital to go do it.
Right.
And so, yeah, this would allow us to really get started and to see if that there's proof of concept. And so let's say we wanted to start a beef broth or a pork broth. We can actually, just as the tech world is, they built the company in their garage, right? And then they created, they created Apple, right? Well, in this case, we want to create it in our kitchen, and then if it works, then we can expand it out, or maybe we can get the numbers big enough to where we catch the attention of a restaurant or a chef who might want to be involved in the processing, the value add for us. Yeah. And so just like the baker that you described, that she was so successful that she had to move out of her home kitchen, get one location, hire staff, get a second location. Those things are definitely a possibility. But yeah, the challenge is, where do we even get started? And this, I think, is a very good answer to that problem, because we can just get started right in our home kitchen. And like you said before, I looked it up before we started talking. Right now, there are at least 7 states that allow the quote-unquote hazardous foods to be processed in the home kitchen to be sold direct. And to date, there's been no foodborne illnesses that can be tracked back to the food being made in the home kitchen. But as you said before, we can certainly find foodborne illnesses in restaurants and grocery stores and large-scale manufacturing facilities.
Yeah. And I don't want to downplay, any benefits to any industry. I just think we need to be open for all possibilities and all opportunities for our people.
Yeah. And what about just us being prepared? We saw like what happened with COVID, how grocery stores shelves, went empty. Yeah. Or let's say there's a recession and people have to figure out what they're going to be doing for income. Do you think that this is going to be setting us up to become just generally more independent?
Yes, I do. During the pandemic, I actually was like, I need to learn how to make bread, and I have, So now I know, as long as I can get flour. But yeah, so now I know that if things come down to it, I can actually make my own bread. But then we can have those local options from our local people in the community that, oh, I know she makes bread, Walmart's out, so let's look and see what other resources we have, and not hold people back and be more. I don't like just the word self-sustainability. I want to be community sustainability. I want us to help each other, get back to each other, and have those available resources for everyone.
That's right. I always tell people that the concept of self-sufficiency is a lie, because you really need a community and a people, community ecosystem for everybody to do their part to be able to be functioning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what would you say to folks who aren't quite sure about this, they're a little bit suspicious about it, or they might be a little bit against it?
Well, it's all about choice. The consumer has the choice to buy. We're not forcing anyone to buy it. No one's going to people's homes to go sit down and have meals. They are going to have, like I said, it's direct to consumer. So, they're not competing with other industries. They are just trying to start their own. Okay, we're going to scratch that. Let me figure out how to best say that better. Okay, ask the question one more time so we can do it clean.
Yep. So what would you say to folks who are on the fence about this bill, they just don't know about it, or they're outright just against it?
So it's all about choice. You know, the consumer has the choice to buy from someone that has a home kitchen. You know, we're not forcing anyone to. It's not going to be mass production. You know, they're not going to be competing with, you know, our grocery stores and restaurants and stuff, because they're going to be limited to their kitchens. They're going to be limited to the amount of time and things that they can do. So, you know, this again is just giving those home producers and farmers and stuff that able to make a new stream of revenue, to make a living, to have, you know, a side hustle, or to grow, you know, to start and go open their restaurant and stuff. So it's a foot in. It's just a stepping stone. It's just a small step, or it's able for those stay-at-home moms, or the retired people, or anyone that just wants to have an additional revenue, stream of revenue, that they can start this opportunity. You know, nowhere's no how are we forcing anyone to buy these products. Again, it's all about choice.
Yeah, well, as a farmer, you definitely have my support. What can folks do to help you support HB 150 and help get this passed?
So, you know, we will be going to committee. So first, the bill starts out in the House. So we will be, I think it's Health and Wellness, Welfare, and the people can come and testify. They can send emails to all of their own representatives and even senators, because if we're able to move from the House to the House floor, which then we'll have the whole House vote, then it would go to the Senate side, to Senate committee, where the people can come testify again. And then if it's able to move from that committee to the Senate floor, you know, then we get that vote then before going to the governor's office. So there's multiple times of being able to testify, but just contacting their own legislators to support the bill, ask them to vote for the bill, and just follow along is going to be a great help.
Well, great. Well, I'm certainly going to do it. So, so anything else you want to add?
No, I just, I'm very excited. You know, I've been talking to a lot of home producers and even some direct to consumer farmers. I've spoken to some other cattlemen and stuff, and everyone seems very excited to have the opportunity, you know, because there are consumers that are looking for these options. Mm-hmm.
And you know, one thing I just realized, you know, with the farming thing, as a farmer, sometimes we try to do it all ourselves. You know, that's we fall into that trap a lot. You know, but because we're getting a lot of our products, you know, processed at a state facility or USDA facility, and we may not have the time to value add these products, somebody else who had the time and who had the skill set, they could buy these inspected products from us.
Yes.
And then turn those into a value-added product. So not only are we doing well as the farmer or rancher, but now they're doing something as just their own business.
Yeah. Well, I just hate waste. You know, when you have a perfectly great product and you have nothing that you can do with it, you know, so I just hate waste, and to be able to do that, I think is going to be also great. For the environment, for the farmers, for everyone.
Yep, no, absolutely. So, so there you go. Representative Kim Coates just has HB 150 put out, the expansion of the cottage food law here in Louisiana. So I just want to encourage everybody to go out there and support her.
Thank you. Thank you, Grant.
Yep,
Appreciate
absolutely.
it.